Breaking Eagles Nation. Wishing everyone an excellent Thursday, but today I bring news that might be a concern. When we talk about injuries, we all know the weight they carry. Every absence is a setback for the team, and at the same time a tough moment for the player, especially when he's been standing out and showing great progress. I don't know about you, but I always put myself in the player's shoes, and I feel not only for the team, but also for the personal struggle the athlete is going through. But one thing I do know, we have faith, we believe that everything will work out, and that our group will keep fighting strong. Nothing will stop our Green Nation. Go Birds! Now let's get straight to it. One of the most pressing storylines this week is the status of rookie running back Will Shipley. We've learned through Eagles insider Derek Gunn that Shipley has suffered a fractured rib. This is not minor. Rib injuries are tricky and can vary in severity, but Dr. Jesse Morse, an injury expert, explained that the minimum recovery is usually about 2 weeks. If an organ is affected, though, the timeline could stretch anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. That is a big gap and a significant concern, especially when we consider how painful rib injuries are for running backs who absorb contact on nearly every touch. For now, the Eagles must proceed with extreme caution. Shipley had already carved out a meaningful role for himself, not only as a promising RB2 behind Saquon Barkley, but also as a reliable kick returner. Fans saw flashes in preseason and even in his limited regular season touches. His vision, patience, and burst were real. In fact, on that screen pass from Jalen Hurts when he got hurt, he looked every bit like a back ready to contribute right now. Unfortunately, this injury forced Howie Roseman to act decisively. That's why the Eagles made the move to acquire Tank Bigsby from Jacksonville. Bigsby comes in as a former third-round pick out of Auburn, a runner known for his downhill style and violent, physical approach. Last season with the Jaguars, he rushed for nearly 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. The price tag wasn't small. Howie gave up a 5th and a 6th-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. That shows the Eagles believe Bigsby can contribute right away, both as insurance behind Barkley and as an immediate option in the return game while Shipley recovers. The fit makes sense, especially considering Jacksonville had shifted away from him with Travis Etienne emerging as their featured back and younger options like Bahel Tootin and Cody Schrader climbing the depth chart. That left Bigsby expendable, and the Eagles wasted no time making him their own. This leads to questions about how the running back room will look once Shipley is healthy. Saquon Barkley is firmly entrenched as RB1, but when Shipley returns, the Eagles may have some tough choices to make. Do they keep 3 running backs active on the 53-man roster, or do they try to juggle 4? A.J. Dillon's status suddenly feels uncertain. If a roster squeeze happens, it's hard to imagine Bigsby being cut after the team paid that kind of draft capital to acquire him. That leaves Dillon as the most vulnerable. Beyond the backfield, the Eagles have been busy making additional roster adjustments. Defensive lineman Gabe Hall was waived from the active roster, and running back Montrell Johnson was released from the practice squad. In their place, the team signed center guard Jake Majors to the practice squad. Majors played at Texas, where he set a school record with 57 starts. Though considered an average athlete with shorter arms, his intelligence and technical soundness stood out to coaches. With Jeff Stoutland developing him, the Eagles may see Majors as a potential future contributor on the offensive line. Another notable move came when the team signed defensive tackle Jacob Sykes to the practice squad while letting go of cornerback Eli Ricks. Sykes, a versatile lineman at 6 feet 3 inches and 277 pounds, has played both tackle and end. A Harvard graduate who later transferred to UCLA, Sykes has had a winding journey through the NFL and UFFL but has impressed enough to earn another chance in Philadelphia. As for Eli Ricks, his story has been one of highs and lows. He flashed as a rookie UDFA with a preseason pick-6 against Baltimore back in 2023. But his development has stalled. After multiple stints bouncing on and off the practice squad, the Eagles finally released him again. Whether they circle back remains to be seen, but the trajectory doesn't look promising. One other storyline overshadowing roster moves is Jalen Carter. After being ejected in the Dallas game for spitting toward Dak Prescott, an incident that sparked plenty of debate, the NFL has issued its final ruling. Carter will not face an additional suspension, but he has been fined $57,222, essentially the equivalent of a game check. The league determined that his ejection served as a 1-game suspension. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, confirmed Carter will not appeal and will instead focus on preparing for the upcoming matchup against Kansas City. While Carter's actions were unacceptable and Nick Sirianni has made it clear discipline will be handled internally, context matters. Prescott provoked the incident, spitting toward Carter first. Carter took the bait, which was an unwise reaction, but the NFL's decision to stop at a fine feels fair when compared to other recent incidents that did not result in suspensions. The Eagles, for their part, have been tight-lipped. Sirianni has denied questions from the media all week, repeating that matters will be handled inside the building. Whether that includes an internal benching for a series or a quarter against the Chiefs remains uncertain. So here we are, Eagles fans, heading into week 2 against Kansas City with plenty of drama but also clarity. Shipley's injury hurts, but Bigsby's arrival helps stabilize the backfield. The defense loses some young depth with Gabe Hall's roster shuffle, but Sykes offers new versatility. And while the Carter saga was an ugly distraction, at least the team now knows it won't be losing him for another game. What do you think about all of this? Do you believe Tank Bigsby was the right move to cover for Will Shipley's injury? And how do you see the running back rotation shaking out once everyone is healthy? And let's not overlook just how much these decisions reveal about the mentality of Howie Roseman and the front office. Time and time again, Roseman has proven that he values depth, competition, and flexibility across the roster. Trading for Tank Bigsby is a clear sign of urgency. This wasn't a move made for later in the year. It was made because the Eagles believe every game matters, especially in a season where expectations are Super Bowl or bust. Giving up a 5th and 6th rounder for 2026 shows they weren't going to risk letting the offense sputter while waiting for Shipley's ribs to heal. Roseman has said it countless times before, you win in the margins. And for this Eagles roster, that means never leaving a weak spot unaddressed. Now, when it comes to Jalen Carter, the situation adds another layer to the team's story. Carter is without question one of the most talented young defensive linemen in the NFL. His explosiveness, strength, and ability to disrupt games make him irreplaceable up front. But talent only gets you so far if discipline becomes a recurring issue. That's why Nick Sirianni's response here is so important. By keeping everything in-house, Sirianni is showing faith in Carter while also sending a message: accountability is non-negotiable. The locker room needs to know that immaturity won't derail their championship pursuit. Carter has the chance to take this as a learning moment, to grow as a player and as a leader on the defensive side of the ball. The question is, will he? And as if the Carter drama wasn't enough, we also need to focus on the ripple effect of losing Gabe Hall, at least temporarily. The Eagles have always built their identity on defensive line dominance, rotating fresh bodies to overwhelm opposing quarterbacks. Hall might not have been a star, but he represented the future, young talent the coaching staff clearly liked. The fact that he was waived in favor of keeping an older pass rusher like Abuarangu suggests the Eagles are leaning on experience in the short term. That's a calculated risk, but it also highlights how crowded the defensive front really is. If Hall clears waivers and returns to the practice squad, all is well. But if another team claims him, this could be a quiet loss that stings down the road. Meanwhile, Jake Majors is a fascinating addition to the offensive line room. We all know Jeff Stoutland has an unmatched reputation for developing linemen, and Majors brings the type of polish and intelligence that can thrive in that environment. He started 57 games at Texas, faced top-tier competition, and while he may not be the most physically gifted, his ability to diagnose protections and execute technically sound blocks makes him valuable. Think about the Eagles' track record. How many under-the-radar linemen have they turned into key